What up, fellas? It is Z Doctor here, bringing you a little domination on mission, and this is part 2 of my Mischief Night kind of a series I've been doing for the last week now. And what I'm going to be discussing in this is basically the second half of Mischief Night, and what took place after where I left off. So a little refresher to y'all. So I left off at the point where me and my buddies aimed the laser at his door right when he was trying to open it, right in front of his face, blatantly obvious, and he got very angry from this. So he comes running back over to the road and looks down at the at the hill we're at the bottom of, and he's looking down there at us because he knows we're down there by that point. He's like, okay, well, that's where the laser came from. That's the angle of which it had to come from. So I know they're down there. So his suspicions were confirmed. Now he knew exactly where we were, and he comes right over top of the hill, looks down there, and it's like, boy, I'm gonna beat your ass. And at this juncture, I'm like freaking out. I mentally, you're just like, this is so funny, but at the same time, I just don't know what to do. It's kind of a really nerve-wracking situation, but the adrenaline rush is something I wouldn't give up for anything. Like, the fun I have in these kind of situations is awesome. So he looks down, and then I kind of look at everyone, and I'm like, guys, we gotta run now. We got to go. And I say this, and they all hear me, and they're like, yeah. And I honestly think he heard us by this, because at that point he was he was starting to move closer to the edge of the hill. And we were at the bottom of this hill, so I'm like, oh shit, he's getting closer. And then I decided to make this smart ass comment, which was pussy. And so I look up at this guy, and I see him moving closer and closer, and he's angry, he's furious, he's like a fucking bull. But then again, he's a nerdy white guy who's like kind of thin, and he's built like a track player. Let's just put it that way. He's built like a runner, which in the end of the day, I figured that out, and I was like, shit, that's not good. But so I look it up in him, and I'm like, pussy, because he's trying to act all tough, and he's obviously not tough. So then once he hears pussy, he takes off, and we take off. We're like, holy shit, he's coming after us. So we're running, and we're laughing, and we're just having a great time. And then all of a sudden, you hear this booming voice behind you, boy, I'm right behind you, boy. And that honestly freaked us all out. We all can say he had such a talent with projecting his voice. It was scary. He projected his voice to sound like he was literally on my ass, like he was right behind me, like he was literally 3 feet behind me. That's what it sounded like. And the reality, he was probably 10, maybe even 15 feet behind me. But with that projection, I had no clue where he was, and I didn't want to turn around and risk that one tiny little bump or whatever, where he can gain on me and he can grab me and throw me down and do whatever else. So I was like, I just gotta run, keep my head forward, and keep going straight. And all of a sudden we're running through the woods here, and because at the bottom of the hill there was only woods to run into, so we were running through the woods. We knew there was a neighborhood on the other side. That's because one of my friends who was with us was familiar with this neighborhood, so he was like, we gotta run through these woods. So that's what we did. And as we're running through the woods, there's pine needles everywhere. There's there's trees down. There's a bunch of shit. And me and Sneaky Peaches just happened to run through what I would like to call a little death trap, because it was bullshit. It was honestly absolute bullshit. And excuse me. So we're running full speed, and once we hit this death trap, what it was a bunch of sticks covered up by a thick coating of pine needles. So it blended in with the trail perfectly. It looked just like it belonged. And when our feet hit it, our feet sunk. I would say about a foot into it. And it's sticks, hard, rigid sticks below it. So it was like it just caught your foot, and we both went down. We both did a face plant. But luckily, both of us had this huge adrenaline rush, and we popped back up. Me personally, as I was going down, I put my hands up, I started pushing against the sticks, and literally, in midair, just kind of shoved myself back up and kept running, because I was like, this is not how I'm going to get caught by some loon, by, a couple sticks in the woods. So after that, I was taking off even faster, because, he was all that closer, and he kept saying, I'm right behind you, boy, I'm gaining on you. And, oh my God, it was so scary. And, at that point, I was like, okay, everyone's going in a straight line. Already two people ditched way back there. They were hiding in the woods in the first place, so they were safe. And it was three of us bombing through these woods. Just we kept going, and finally we opened up to a neighborhood, and I was like, thank God. But then I was like, oh shit, there's no cover. Except a couple bushes here and there. And I decided, if I'm gonna get away from this guy who's screaming and sounds like he's literally on my ass right now, I'm gonna ditch to the right. So that's exactly what I did. The other two ran straight, and I took a hard ass, sharp ass right turn, and that was right in between two houses, and I went boom right in there. Dove into a bush in the front yard right when I was out of his sight line, just in case he happened to follow me. I was, really hoping that, he just wouldn't know which bush I was in or where I went. So, I was in this bush, and I was cuddled up in a ball, so I looked, partly like the bush, and also so if he did find me, he wouldn't, be kicking my face in. I was just kind of, huddled up, covering my face. And, luckily, after a couple of seconds, I was like, damn, I don't hear anything, I don't see him, he's not following me. And then, I hear faint screaming, down there. I still have my throat mic on. I still have my night vision scope with me. But in a bush, none of that's useless. And when I landed on my walkie-talkie, which is, connected to the throat mic, it actually jolted the batteries where it turned it off. And you know what I'm talking about. If you slap your cell phone against something, or, if a battery disconnects somehow, it's pretty common. It will just turn off. And that was the case with that walkie-talkie. So my walkie-talkie's off. Apparently this is what happened, though. And, I'm going to tell the story from what I heard afterward. And this is just hysterical. So Sneaky Peaches, it cuts across the road. He goes bombing, out in between houses, in between this neighborhood, and there's another road. And, right when he hops off the curb, he just falls. And, in his desperation, he just decides, I'm going to lay here. There's no way I'm getting away from this guy anymore. No possible way. Because, I just fell 2 times. He's right on me. I'm done. So he lays there, and apparently, the guy just starts strutting over to him, slowly and slowly. He slows down from his run into a strut, and he just walks over to Sneaky Peaches casually, and then, Sneaky Peaches stands up, and he shoves Sneaky Peaches, and it's like, boy, why are you aiming the laser? I told you not to aim that laser, boy. And then, Sneaky Peaches is like, that wasn't me, sir. That was someone else. That was one of my other friends. And, and then the guy's like, oh, okay. But, the guy didn't really believe him anyway. I wouldn't really believe any, kid that was just aiming a laser at my house anyway. So, the same with that guy. He was like, that's total bullshit. He's like, what's your name, boy? And, he's making fun of the getup he's wearing as well, because we're in ghillie suits. That's camouflage. That's hunting gear. It, it looks pretty strange when you were walking around in a full leafy suit, full body suit. It looks really strange. So the guy's like, what kind of getup you have on, boy? Why are you dressed like this? You have a life, boy? You have a life? Obviously, the guy didn't realize that it was Mischief Night, so, he's the one without the life, obviously. And, he just keeps going on, and he's like, what's your name, boy? Boy, what's your name? And, he's shoving him, and, he was giving hard time, or Sneaky Peaches as we like to call him. And he was just really aggressive. And Sneaky Peaches is strong. He's built like a brick. Like, you cannot move this kid. So when he shoved Sneaky Peaches, Sneaky Peaches didn't move, and the guy was like, damn, okay, I'm messing with a strong ass kid here. I cannot continue on the way. So then the guy calmed down, but he did grab Sneaky Peaches and say, I'm gonna punch your face out if you don't tell me what your name is. So Sneaky Peaches, being the brilliant creative guy he is, comes up with the name Bob, and he says, I'm Bob. And the guy's like, what's your last name, boy? And he's like, Smith. And that's the most common name in the world, Bob Smith. I mean, come on. It's almost a joke. So, the guy's like, I know you're lying to me. Tell me your real name. So the best part was he says a real name. And I'm just going to put a fake one out there because I don't want to give away anyone I know. But he basically says Bo Jenkins. And Bo Jenkins, let's just say, is in my class. And, so that I thought that was really comical because, though I didn't hear it from at that juncture, I heard it later. So this is basically what happens. He finishes up with Carlo. He's telling Carlo, your friends are no good. They won't come out for you because apparently Carlo radioed for us, on his throat mic. But, obviously my throat mic didn't work and everyone else was being beached and didn't actually, answer his request. Now, on top of that, the guy started walking up the road, and I told you I was already in a bush in front of a house, and the road was in front of that bush. So I all of a sudden see this guy strut out of the black from down the road, after hearing screaming and this and that, and excuse me, and then all of a sudden he's walking up all pissed, yelling at himself like, "Oh my, what is this bullshit?" Blah, 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 blah. And then he's finally like, "What kind of name is Bo Jenkins anyway?" And from that moment, I knew Bo Jenkins was in my class, and right there I put two and two together, and I was like, shit, someone got caught. But look, they used that fake name. He was actually a real person in our class. So I just cracked up. I thought that was so funny. I ran down to Sneaky Peaches. We talked. He was fine. Thank God the guy never actually punched him, never physically hurt him. Just gave him a couple shoves, and it got his nerves going. And then everyone else crept out at their hiding spots, and we were back in our group. And that is the extent of our Mischief night. Oh my God, was it a blast? It was so much fun. Luckily, no one got hurt, but it was a close call. Even though it was honestly just hysterical, and I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. A toodaloo, fellas. Z Doctor is out.